Hey, yo, what's going on? Yaakov Galen here. In this video, you're going to see some behind the scenes footage of our trip to Texas. If you haven't seen that video, go check it out over here, wherever the editor decides to put it. Now, I want to tell you a little bit about what you're going to see. We met with Yehuda Istrin and his partners at the Flying Sea Ranch. He has a Kosher Wagyu business. We got to talking about the kashrus of Wagyu, the science behind it, and the ranchers gave us the lowdown on how the day-to-day operations work. I hope you enjoy this clip. Again, if you haven't seen the full vlog, go check that out. It's amazing. Enjoy.
He's one of us. We could be a rancher out here. Out in the middle of, I say nowhere. I'm sorry, I don't mean nowhere because I know it's y'all's husband. To me, this is so foreign because, you know, I live in New York City. I grew up in Philadelphia, and then you come here. It does feel like, whoa, I feel lonely. And then I meet all these characters out here. People have so much to share. Like, for sure. In text, and also people are so open and like ready to just get to know each other. I don't know. I've been loving it.
It's like I'll say a ranch is an extension of someone's home. So it's really them letting you into their home.
Yeah.
So it's very much part of, in my opinion, the culture of the area that we're in.
So break it down for me. So how did you end up all working together? So
I would say it was probably in 2020. I think it was the first time. So I was shechting. So how I got started in it is I moved to Dallas in 2016 from LA for my wife, and so I moved out here and I was working with a bunch of physicians, and I wear my yarmulke, and so they always ask me, there's like, it's big beef, big pork, you know, it's like
right.
Big barbecue here, and so it's like everyone's like, can you eat this? The drug reps are bringing in all this food into the offices, and I'm there with my like hard-boiled egg and my deli meat sandwich, and just like, and all the doctors are like, Yehuda, this barbecue's awesome. I'm like, I can't have any. It's not kosher. Then explaining to them about kosher, because a lot of people don't really know about kosher here, and so kind of explained that. And then one of the physicians I was working with, he had some cattle that I bought and then brought a rabbi down to shecht. And then when I started shechting, I started doing research and looking at different product, and I saw Russ and his product down at the Schlachthaus. And
so you were already working with kosher slaughter?
No, we weren't at the time.
Okay.
We were just harvesting animals for just small business, farmers markets, private customers,
right.
like 1 or 2 restaurants kind of deal. We were trying to grow. That's where we first met him. He's like, "You guys are doing awesome. How do we work together?"
Okay.
So that's kind of where all that started.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And then it kind of blossomed from there, and now we do a lot more things together and continuously grow and
right.
and continuous to provide an awesome Wagyu beef product that is best in class for the kosher consumer.
Okay, so I have a controversial question, because I was down in Houston with a Texas native, and he was going on a whole rant. He smoked us some barbecue, and he, you know, like basically he doesn't even rub his meat, the meat. He'll just put on the smoker and that's it. So he was telling us how, you know, the Wagyu, I'm not even gonna try it because it's a fad and this and that. So I respect the traditionalists. I think Wagyu is delicious.
Yeah.
But like, what's the tell me the reason behind focusing on this specific product.
It's the future. It's the future.
Talk about that a little bit.
So I mean, like, it's a better tasting product, and you know, when like all the health benefits that are in the equation as well, and contributing to that, the animals aren't as large frame size, so it doesn't take as much to finish them. On top of that, heterosis, you know, if you take a Wagyu and cross it with an Angus, that F1 is going to be probably going to grade pretty good prime. So that being said, like, the Angus is going to contribute that frame size to it, and then the Wagyu is going to obviously skyrocket the marbling. So
how does that affect like how you barbecue it or how you smoke it and stuff like that? Because I know there's more there's more fat, right? So does that challenge? Are the traditionalists scared because they don't know how to smoke the product or barbecue the product, and they have to learn? It's almost like social media came out. Now I have to figure out how to use Facebook and Instagram.
A lot of it, honestly, people get nervous around the price point, right? Because we do spend a longer time. They develop a little bit slower to get that quality level there. And then, you know, the cost, the price premium, because it is a limited commodity. You know, a lot of barbecue guys that are traditionalists, they're used to going to the Costco's or wherever and buying the cheap beef and then, you know, spending the 20 hours, and they think that's everything to the equation. But the guys winning the competition, they're picking up the Wagyu, right? They're
Go look at every, I mean, we're in the heart of like
hours.
brisket, cook-offs at the rodeos, you know, Austin, San Antonio, Houston, like they do cook-offs the week before. Top 3, all those.
Yeah.
Go look
Wagyu.
at what they're using.
All of the Wagyu
Yeah.
variation.
So it's
And it's also, there is an art to smoking a Wagyu brisket because of the fat and the health benefits that Cole was talking about, is that it renders at a lower melting point. So that's what gives that buttery mouthfeel that everybody's like when they have that quintessential Wagyu bite. They're like, it feels like there's just butter and just constantly coating my mouth as I'm eating this with a beefy flavor. And that's like the beauty of Wagyu. And so you need a longer finish time because of the age and the fat content. So you have to go a little slower. There's just like different techniques. Everybody has a little bit different technique on that one.
But I will say, like, back to your question, I think why traditionalists, I guess, kind of like are skeptical about the Wagyu and everything. A lot of it, in my opinion, comes down to like phenotype, how that animal looks.
Yep.
They don't look as appealing. They don't look, because I mean, like traditionally, beef was like paid for, like pounds of beef is what you were raising, not quality, quantity. Right. And so when you look at these, you're like, nah, and people are paying like, so when you hear that high dollar amount, you automatically assume people are buying their way into this, you know, just versus, you know, I guess starting from hard times, progressing, building a traditional herd that way. But yeah, that's.
Do you think that this? I mean, I don't know. I'm not gonna guess ages over here, but I figure that the younger folk, I guess, like in a country now where this is a little side topic, but like where we see diseases are skyrocketing, and kind of like the quality of food in the United States, where it was like mass produced, and we don't really know what's in our food, and like, I mean, you know, I personally like, I'm putting on a little belly right now, just 'cause I'm eating a lot of food, but like. I'm on a keto diet, so even if I'm eating meat, I'm only really eating meat once a day for dinner.
Yeah.
So I would be more selective with the choice of the product. Do you feel like the country's like moving in the direction of eating healthier, and so you'll spend more money on a product because of the quality? Because you're eating less. I mean, we're not supposed to be eating as much as we're eating. Like, you know.
I think you saw, and you still see a huge movement in consumers, whether they're younger, older, whoever it is, about like where the food comes from. Just because there's been, you know, truth in labeling, source verified, age verified, all these things are coming to the forefront of like big companies where it's like, oh, we just slapped made in the USA on it, but it really wasn't. So all these things are coming to light. So people are like, oh, the grocery store's out of meat. Where do I buy meat? Farmers. I think that's where it comes from, right? So a lot of those things where your food comes from, how was it raised? Are they responsible? Are they taking care of the land? Carbon capture, all these things go into just being good stewards of the environment and the resources we have. So I think, you know, that's just more in the forefront of people's minds of like, okay, we can support local. These guys are working hard to keep prices down, and just, you know, sourcing more and more locally. You see even big stores where they're just like, where can we buy produce or beef from local sources to keep it more domestic.
And you're seeing there's more demand for that now? Yeah,
nonstop. And again, it's across all age demographics, all levels of incomes, socioeconomic, like whatever. You see a lot more people just caring about where their food comes from, supporting the families that raise it, because they've gone to the grocery store and it didn't have meat, right? So now they're like, okay, we can give back, and they choose to spend their money locally. So,
and also to your point, to further it, it's also that people, like you were asking about, you know, are people choosing more Wagyu? Yes, people want to know where their meat's coming from. They want to know where. They also want to know, to what Russ was talking about, is who's caring for it. Is it cared for? Is it healthy? What are the health benefits? What's the flavor profile? All those things that come into a boutique operation, a small farm raising awesome beef. People are starting to choose that over just eating beef and just buying from the grocery store. And so like that is kind of what the future is looking like, where there's more alternative proteins, and when people are going to eat beef, they're going to want that awesome steak or that awesome piece of meat that is just going to be an enjoyable experience,
Right.
and just not and know where it's coming from.
Right.
And
Also,
know that
you don't even have to go to the grocery store. You order online now.
Yeah,
Exactly.
exactly. Yeah.
Sit on your couch.
world, right?
Yeah.
That's
you
pretty
can
wild.
you can definitely order online. Thank you for the plug. I
Of
appreciate
course.
it.
Yeah.
I
So,
appreciate it.
all right. So I want to talk a little bit about so in Judaism, God tells us that He gave us this physical world that we live in. He gave us animals, trees, and we're supposed to use the physical world and infuse it with meaning and spirituality. And it's not a pie in the sky idea.
Mm-hmm.
What you guys are doing here is what God is talking about. When you talk about eating mindfully, when you talk about treating animals with respect, that's all in the Bible. That's all in the Torah. That's all in the Bible. And so, what's interesting to me is coming out here and getting to really I want to see the operation. What does it mean? I want to be more mindful when I eat. You go to the store, I pick up. It's in a plastic. That's what a cow is, right? It's a plastic. And I'm being facetious, but I think that it's important for people to see where our meat is coming from, and to see what an operation looks like that's actually treating the animals respectfully, and so there's extremes, right? So vegans, the vegans will say it's cruel, and that's how good for them, and that's what they believe. But God says you can eat animals, right?
Yeah.
And so but again, there's extremes. You're not supposed to treat them disrespectfully. You're not supposed to, I don't know what goes on in the mass production, but I can't imagine those animals are happy. And so it's like finding that balance of where can I infuse spirituality and godliness into eating, and it starts here, right? So I thought that was pretty cool. I don't know if you folk are religious or not, but
Yeah.
that to me is
I agree with you. And then to say one thing on top of that, the vegan thing is, why do you have canines in your teeth?
yeah. What are they for?
What are they for chewing through grass? I don't
I
think
don't
so.
know. Yeah, I don't like salads, so but I don't know about you.
I mean, I'm getting there,
put a little
but
parsley on top of my.
We get people come up farmers market, be like, oh, sorry, no meat. Like, I'm a vegetarian. Be like, guess what? These cows right here, also vegetarians. The most vegetarian thing in this market are these cows,
organic, you name it. Yeah.
Buy some jerky.
Exactly. The cows are supposed to eat the grass, and we're supposed to eat the cows. That's how it works.
So I'll say to your point about God and everything, it was when I started getting into this, I really started seeing the hand of God and Hashem in everything, is because in the Shema, it says, Esa bisadcha livimtecha, grass in the field for your animal. Never is that more appropriate, and are you more reliant on the rains that come from above. And so it's really, you're at the mercy of the higher power, and you see it on a daily basis all the time. You're living it. I see it. It's part of the fibers that make the end product.
Right. And I would say that kashrus, you know what kashrus is, right?
Kosher.
Yeah. So that final stamp, that's not kashrus. It's the whole process before you get the final stamp of approval, right?
Yes.
That's really what kosher should be.
Yes.
All right, you want to show me around?
Yeah, for sure.
What are we looking at over here? What's in front of us?
Yeah, so
You can go for it.
so this is our main herd. These are all our mama cows that we rely on to produce beef. They have the best life, right? They're just cruising around the pasture. They have access to feed, hay. We're in the middle of a drought right now, going on about 17 months of drought, just no rain.
Oh, wow.
So we do have to provide supplements. All natural diet. Cole works with nutritionists down in Gonzales, bring in special ration, evaluate their body condition, just make sure they're happy, healthy, living their best life. You probably can't go to a ranch around here and see cattle in better condition, body-wise, just because, again, drought. That's a tough bill to go against. But we use this middle pasture right here as sacrificial just because it's the poorest quality land for growing grass. So we put them in there during winter times or when it is drought, because we can't really ruin the soil. They're actually improving the soil, you know, between fertilizing it, mowing down the grass, the weeds, everything goes into it. It helps that land regenerate. So that's kind of why they're in that section right now.
Free landscaping.
Yep.
We could use that in New York.
Exactly.
It's very expensive.
So that's
little 4x4 piece of grass to cut that is pretty penny. Gotta get myself a mama cow.
Yeah, so this is, again, the main herd that we use for producing beef animal, future offspring. We do embryo programs out here for future breeding, as well as seed stock. So
Cool. Awesome.
the thing that I take a lot of pride in is this is a third generation ranch. So my wife's grandma and grandpa bought this ranch back in the, I think, late 40s, early 50s. They used to live out here, raise cattle. You know, after they were done, my father-in-law, he started raising cattle out here. He got into the Wagyu game. Very early on, when there were very few animals, no one was harvesting. It was all seed stock, building ranches all across this country. So when the associations were forming, figuring out what they should do with this breed, he was part of that. So, you know, you fast forward to where we are today. About 7 years ago, my wife and I had the opportunity to hit reset on the whole business. He passed, and we said we're gonna do it. We're gonna be, you know, we're take care of the land, improve the ranch, improve what the business was. So we started at ground zero pretty much. We had a brand name that gave us a handshake at most doors. But other than that, we just started from scratch and started rebuilding that entire thing. And that's probably back close when we first met as well. And said, this is what we're doing, you know, everything from taking care of the soil to the new cattle. And we've just grown since then. You know, again, we're just trying to do the best we can with the resources and do it a little bit better than it was done before. So day in, day out, whether it's, you know, stop, pick something up, whether it's, you know, putting down cover crops in the winter so our cattle have better nutrition, the land's regenerating itself. All those things go into like what this ranch is. It's just a regenerative process all the way from cattle to soil. It's kind of, that's what gets me up. That's what gets me up in the morning is, you know, and you look back and, you know, people are looking down on us, like smiling about like what we've done with this and
respecting them. And
yeah, we get it all the time from breeders all across the country and be like, man, you know, Les or your father-in-law will be really proud of what's going on here, and just what you guys are doing from a, just, you know, not just from a caring for the land, but caring for employees, people that work out here day in, day out, what we're providing to communities as far as
yeah.
good beef. We
Like we're still like continuing, sorry to interrupt, but like we're still like, you know, furthering relationships with like the feed store that, you know, they used and like stuff like that. And, you know, that just to see the community like hearing this name again type thing. And like, I think that's one of the coolest things is like, you know, taking it from where it was and then raising the bar each year, whatever it is, setting goals. Like I can definitely agree with the rest. That's what gets me up every day. It's like, we got something, there's always something to do. I think my favorite question is like, what do you do out there? Like how much time you have? Like it's versatile as all get out. And that's the coolest thing is being able to like approach a situation, not knowing the outcome, but just open-minded. What's going on? How do you fix it? How do you solve it? Just taking that mindset and it continues with you throughout life.
How did like give me an example of like how you learned something on the ranch and like applied it in like something.
Well, I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be a skill or anything, but it could just be like
a philosophy,
patience.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big one.
Yeah.
It's like stuff. Not everything happens overnight. Next thing you know, it's like you're in traffic jam after work. It's like, here's what it is. You know, wait your turn. So it's, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that you learn over time, whether or not you realize it or not, that you carry with you, and I mean, it really shapes you as a person, fine-tunes your character.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing that.
Seems like the principle of legacy is very important. Like what you were saying about like.
Yeah, and you know, we treat our cattle kind, we treat the people kind. We got guys that come out here spreading chicken litter to again put organic matter back into the soil, and it's like, hey, I haven't been out here for like 15 years. It was less, you know, they knew my father-in-law back then. It's like, all right, we're doing some of the same things. I just never knew about it. Larry, the guy that delivers feed, supplemental feed during winter, he's been doing it for 20 some years, and just being kind to those people that have supported this ranch over the years, because it is a small, rural community. To his point, it's not just a skill or a task, it's patience, it's treating people well, the relationships you build, day in, day out. We have people that come out here and help build infrastructure and help build the ranch. So it's just that community that you build day in, day out, working out here.
Even like to simplify a little bit what he just said, as far as like when Larry comes and delivers feed, one thing throughout the ranch is all the little gates you had to go through and stuff like that. So like one thing, it's the least that I can do for those guys to make it easy on them, get out here and, deliver a product and, have a nice reputation of the ranch in their head. Such as just opening all the gates so he never has to leave that seat. Right. So he comes in, does what he needs to, and leaves. And so like when he hears the name or my name or Russ's name or something like that, it's usually like a sure, yeah, well, like what do you need?
Right.
So
and it's helping you become more mindful of others, and that's cool. So all right, so can you explain to me like the relation? How does it work? So you own the ranch and then you rent land, rent cows? How does that work?
I buy cattle and we share on genetics, on some of the genetics that we have and our embryos that we put in order to continuously provide more beef for the kosher consumers. And so that's where we come together, we share on some of the genetics, and the feeding, the animals that we feed out that don't go to the genetics program end up being slaughtered, shafted, and then brought to the table if they're kosher. Wow. And if they're not, we have another brand that's non-kosher that we sell all the non-kosher product, because we really try not. We also try not to be wasteful. Right. We want to really try and honor these animals and not just be like, okay, it's not important, but it is important to care for and sell every piece, because it is a living, breathing thing that we are taking its life at the end of the day, and there's a lot of hard work that goes into it, and it's really the transformation from that live animal to food that is really the beauty of kosher. And that's where it's elevating that live animal and with the chalif to make it that kosher food.
So crazy. So cool. Okay. Wow.
Russ was saying about the embryos is that these were almost we'll call them the foundation for the genetics and the program. Is that you start with that and then you expand and improve in every generation.
It's amazing.
Yeah, we look at data too a lot on that, where we're deciding like what's the best sire to use for this female, whether we're using AI or producing next embryos. Like she's really good on marbling, she's really good on ribeye size. So we, if we're trying to create females, we might do more maternal characteristics for mature cow weight to produce larger, faster growing animals a little bit. But yeah, each one, it's like what do we contribute to the next generation with AI and embryo transfers that allows us to go through and make selections.
Do you
like
work with like researchers or like like how does that work?
There's an association. There's one in the U.S. and there's one in Australia as well. There's a few others around the world, but the one in Australia, they've done a really good job of raising large groups of animals and tying it back to genomics or the DNA that are within cattle. So they'll associate everything from how fast it grows at 100 days, 200 days, 600 days. Wow. The full animal size, how much marbling fineness, how big the ribeye is, how much back fat they have. So they take all these genetic markers within the DNA and say this correlates so much percent to this result, right? Like 60% of the time, 70% of the time, 80% of the time, this will contribute more size or more ribeye. So all that data is there to help us make breeding decisions. Right. But the Australians were really the ones that pioneered collecting that data and doing the DNA research, and we just benefit from it now.
And also to his father-in-law's credit, he was very much in the beginning before anybody knew what Wagyu was. And so, like Russ was saying earlier, is like that opens a lot of handshakes and ability to get the best-in-class information to further propagate the data and gather the data, because it's part science, part art. There's a balance of the two that comes out in the end result. And so he's very humble, and he's not always gonna toot his own horn, but I can do it for him.
Wow.
And so that's what I would say to that one.
So in Hebrew, it's called siyata deshma, which just means like divine providence. You know, like to be able to have a kosher product, but work with the best. You know, the best in the game. So it's like God wanted, you know, to partner together, and it's to me, it's like I wouldn't say I worked in software before I got into this industry, and to hear that there's software for raising cattle is like I'm shocked.
Yeah, we keep track of everything. You know, somebody has a foot injury or a little limp, or you know, their body condition isn't just quite right. You know, we make note of it, and we track it, and we try to improve it. You know, we want them to be happy, healthy. She's mad right now because she wants more cubes. But
and that's also the electronic ear tags that allow for the proper management of where everything is.
So there's like 2 tags in her ear, one the ID, and then the second one, it's a little puck inside.
You got a lot already. About patience, you got to talk to him about that.
Yeah.
You got to talk to him
She needs training wheels. She needs training wheels.
Guy, you know, hey, 16 years.
I've had my 3-year-old son feeding bulls like in an open trough before. Not a question in mind that bull's going to do anything wrong or push him over anything, right? They're just excited to eat, you know?
You can feel the vibe. It's so gentle.
Yeah. Yeah, it propagates too. Like if there's certain ones that are super calm, they'll, you know, calm the rest of the herd. If there's ones that are, you know, skittish or flighty or scared, that'll propagate too. So that's again why we try to select and breed and manage temperament as well, right? There's the data part of it says, yep, good beef. There's actual results of good beef, but then there's how do they look? How do they raise a calf? How do they treat us, right? All those things go into
Efficiency.
Yep. Yeah, because if you're chasing one that's flighty across the pasture, you just spend a lot of money. You're going to do that over and over again if you don't kind of take that from the herd.
For sure.
But yeah, even back before there was data, you know, when the cattle first left Japan, late 90s, you know, a majority of them left in the late 90s. Washington State up in the Pacific Northwest was the only one doing research, contemporary groups, finishing out animals, seeing how they perform. So number 1, number 4, as well as a few other ones in this group are a result of that research in the U.S., right? That was the only data available. So taking those bloodlines, those genetics, and breeding for the next animal is kind of how this ranch got started back then, you know, leveraging some of that work, other research, other institutions were doing. So it's nice to see them still performing, even though there's a lot more genetics, more data available, you know, just to see each one perform.
Do you help the cows when they're giving birth? Or are you giving them to their own devices? So?
Like there hasn't been a calf pulled on this ranch in probably 20 some years since you started going through Wagyu. They just naturally calf easier, right? They're known for fertility, easy calving, low birth weight. So there's no need to assist ever.
Wow.
I've never pulled a calf. I mean, from a Wagyu, that is.
And you can watch them, and you know, it might take 10 minutes, it might take half hour, 45 minutes, but you know, they drop a calf, they're up and suckling pretty quick. They're usually pretty vigorous, but you know, they're only you know, anywhere from 35 to maybe 55 pound calf, so they're all pretty.
That's when like for example, if number 4 had a little calf on her right now, and the calf was over here, and I picked the calf up, even though she's watching me, and that calf like made a noise, like pretty good chances. Yeah, just because that maternal instinct is like they have a switch.
Wow, it's crazy.
Yeah, because like as soon as, you know, they're inseminated, whether it's naturally or artificially, they have what's called a maternal recognition of pregnancy. So the hypothalamus like literally gets a signal saying I'm pregnant. Progesterone levels skyrocket, and that's maintained all the way through pregnancy. So essentially once parturition happens, which is calving, once that happens, it's like all my, you know, that since that recognition signal was turned on, it's all devoted into this right here, and this is my pride and joy. Don't touch it.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Do you ever feel bad for slaughtering them and eating them?
So
so much?
If my wife had a choice, we'd be a no slaughter ranch, right? No harvest. We'd only produce seed stock, but we want to prove our genetics, what we're doing.
Exactly.
So we just don't talk about it at the dinner table, especially.
Sign language for that one.
Yeah, but
Number 4. You're the
Number 4, yeah, we're going from the back next week.
Back it up.
you know, like all of our cattle, like they only have one bad day, right? It's that day is their bad day, but it's quick, it's efficient, and you know, in Japan, that's the most honorable thing to do with the animal is harvest it, provide healthy, nutritious beef to families, right? You're providing for communities, you're providing for families. I think, you know, with the beef we harvest off this ranch, we're feeding 150 families every single day of the week.
Wow.
Every single day of the year, year round, right? That's, you know, and that's something to be proud of and take, you know, like, not everybody gets to do that. And we're doing it in a responsible way. We're doing it that regenerates the land, you know, low stress for everybody involved, safe, quality, like, you know, all these things are forefront, and we just take a lot of pride in that.
Yeah, I can see. It's interesting, like I was saying before, you know, God, like it says in the Bible, like God talks about there are tiers, you know, the animals are here to serve the human, right? So, but there are rules how that relationship's supposed to work. And so that's like I'm seeing it, and that's how it's supposed to be. Like we can eat them, but you got to treat them properly.
You know, that's why it says in the, you know, it's like it says in the Torah that you feed your animals first before you feed yourself and you go inside. And so that's all that caring that's in the Torah comes out and manifests itself here.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And it's kudos to Cole and Russ.
To work in Wagyu, do you have to like spend a time in Japan or anything?
To get certified?
Maybe.
Forgot my badge.
No, I mean, you know, the information that's available now, the knowledgeable breeders in the U.S., across the world, there's been a lot that's happened. You know, I visited Japan before and seen how they processing plants, farms, how they raise and feed. You know, I think the biggest difference there is when they finish out animals and they're feeding them for beef production, they do individualized care, right? In the U.S., where we're at, we might do a group where they're all mingling together, but stress is still a big thing there. Quality of nutrition, what they're actually eating. Where in the U.S., we may not individualize it because the cost, labor, everything goes into it, but we're all going after those same goals: flavor profile, the tenderness of the beef, the quality. So there's a lot of similar practices, but those are probably the biggest differences, is they're making an individual animal nutrition adjustments.
And also in the last, I'll say 3 or 4 years, I'd say, what was it, like 4 years ago, you tell someone, oh, we got Wagyu, they're like, what is that?
Yeah.
And it's
So how do you pronounce
like,
that?
Yeah, like, how do you pronounce it? What is that? And then you have to tell them I always use the analogy of champagne. It's like champagne, the grapes are only from, to call it champagne, you can only call it champagne if it's raised in that region. Yeah. You can have a sparkling wine from another region, but you can only call it that from there. Same thing with Kobe and Wagyu. It's a similar, it's a certain line of Wagyu that's raised in a region.
All Kobe is Wagyu, but all Wagyu is not.
Kobe.
Yeah, the Hago region.
Hear that? Yeah, exactly. You gotta massage that cow, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a Kobe.
That was probably my favorite question at the farmers markets.
Massage them?
Yeah, do you massage them? I'd say, yeah, we got 200 in the lineup this afternoon. You ready?
You want to?
Yeah, where do you start? Usually at the head. You gotta tell them, what's going on.
So you gotta play like spa music also?
Yeah, they like that classical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.